Well, I guess that's the last episode of season 11. Did everything get wrapped up? Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back, and I am in super comfy clothes right now because I am freezing cold, and I just want to do a really chill review for this last episode, the season finale of season 11 of Doctor Who, the Battle of Ranskoor of Kolos, which that's a very difficult name to say. Shouldn't be surprised though, it's Doctor Who. They have crazy names sometimes, but I'm just going to do a super chill review for this last one before we get our New Year's special in January. But want to talk a little bit about where we left off in last episode before we get started on this finale episode. So in the last episode, the Doctor and the companions find themselves in 2018 Norway and discover a kind of abandoned shack or a kind of abandoned house and help a blind girl find her father. And Graham confronts the fact that he may not quite have processed the fact that Grace has gone and needs to kind of own up to that a little bit. So that's kind of what the last episode was about, but I thought it was pretty good. I felt like they built the mystery up fairly well, and something I've been harping on this entire season is the lack of closure in a lot of episodes, at least for the first half of this season, and I feel like this episode, along with a couple of the previous other ones, have given us a great deal of closure, so I'm very glad that that is finally a thing coming into this last episode. So that's where we are right now. And a quick summary of this finale episode: the Doctor and the companions answer 9 different distress calls and come to find a planet that is full of secrets and meet an old foe. So you know what that means. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I will be talking about it in the spoiler section. There is somebody coming back. Duh. But I thought this episode was pretty okay. I mean, it's not like my favorite episode by far, but it is not so... to me, it didn't feel up to the standards of a usual Doctor Who season finale. So I was a little bit disappointed by it. It felt like, to me, a lot of things happened, but at the same time didn't really happen. I don't know much else to say about this episode. It was a decent episode. It was a standard Doctor Who episode. So from here on out, everything is going to have spoilers. This episode did do a great job of building up the overall mystery at the very beginning, because you have the captain who doesn't really know or remember anything of what happened to him before the Doctor and the companions showed up. And it kind of builds on to that a little bit, but about halfway through, once you kind of figure out who the creator is for the UX, you don't really have much mystery, and it's all just a little bit cookie cutter. You kind of know what's going to happen. Very Doctor Who. At the same time, it just feels like everything is happening, but at the same time, nothing is happening. There is a great amount of growth between Graham and Ryan's characters, which I love to see. And I feel like it's good because we haven't really got any growth between the two of them except for in the previous episode. It has been a lot of growth for Yaz, but in this episode we did get a lot of growth between Graham and Ryan, of them, Ryan actually saying that he loves Graham and calling him grandfather and things like that. And I just really loved it. I love the connection the two of them are finally getting. There was a point when Graham was telling Ryan to keep going, so he was going to blow up the doors to stop the sniper bots from coming in them. I thought he was going to die. I know, I was just like, I feel like that's a thing that's going to happen, even though I have seen some promo pictures for the January 1st special, for the New Year's special. He has been in those, so either that was set before this episode or he doesn't die in this. So I wasn't like super shocked that he didn't die. I just had this weird feeling from the way the music was going and the way the cameras were, and it had the hallmarks of that happening. But I'm glad it didn't, because I love Graham. He is one of my favorite characters. They also gave him a really great moment in this episode where Graham and Ryan are having this little chat about Graham wanting to kill Tim Shaw because of what he did to Grace, and the fact that he's upset at the fact that Ryan doesn't really side with him on this. Ryan is siding with the Doctor because the Doctor has a no weapons policy. They do make a couple jokes about that earlier in the episode with some back and forth between the doctor and Ryan, where he kind of is like, why are you getting all these weapons? You say no weapons. You're very against weapons. You stopped me from shooting a sniper bot. And she says, well, my rules are flexible. Anything that can be rebuilt, I'm okay with breaking down. But because you were new, I was setting down rules for you to not shoot the sniper bots. And then she goes on to say, don't quote me on that. My rules change all the time. And I thought that was kind of funny. But that's a little bit beside the point that I'm making, is the fact that Graham and Ryan had this really great moment where Ryan gives Graham some advice that Grace gave him, and to be the bigger man. Don't kill Tim Shaw just because of what he did to Grace. Be the bigger man. Don't shoot him. And I just thought that was a beautiful moment of the connection between the two of them that they are finally starting to form. And finally, there was some wrap up, like all of those episodes where we didn't really quite get any closure. The first one, of course, with Tim Shaw. As I've talked about already in this episode, we do get Tim Shaw back. And I really couldn't care. I mean, I could care less. But at the same time, I probably wish I could care more. For some reason, I feel like there is so much more that they could have closed up throughout this season that they didn't. They didn't close up anything that happened with Krasko. They didn't close up anything that happened with those weird sheet things on that planet in the second episode, calling the doctor the impossible child. There's some things that I feel like they didn't quite really finish up. And what happened at the end with Tim Shaw, I feel like, because even though Ryan and Graham put him into the stasis, he still wasn't quite, he put his hand on the glass. I feel like he's going to come back. Somehow he's going to come back. Maybe he'll be a through line for the next season. Maybe he'll be a through line for the New Year's special. I don't know. I just don't feel very complete. I mean, it does have a very good wrap up. I really had some sense of closure in this episode, but I feel like there is more to come from a lot of what is happening. Like, even Krasko from the Rosa episode, I feel like he just kind of went away and there wasn't anything. I feel like they should have brought him back for something. Not necessarily in this episode. It wouldn't have fit anywhere in this episode. There was something there that they needed to bring back with him that they just didn't. And of course, this is the finale episode, so I don't necessarily have any theories for the next episode, but I already kind of gave a little bit of my theories for what might happen in the next season or in the New Year's finale. Maybe Krasko will come back. I don't know. Probably not. And maybe they'll have Tim Shaw, I feel like, will come back. And they'll have to do something with the Timeless Child, which I'm pretty sure I called Impossible Child earlier. But they're going to have to do something with that again, because it was just something stupid to drop in there. They brought back the Ghost Monument quote, but I feel like that just was thrown in there to maybe add some closure to some of what was happening. But those are my theories for the rest of what could happen in the next season with the Doctor. And now to wrap this episode up, it is my favorite moment, and my favorite moment in this episode is definitely when Graham decides not to shoot Tim Shaw, and instead he puts down his gun and says that he's going to be the bigger man. Ryan comes in and Tim Shaw is about to shoot Ryan, but to protect Ryan, Graham shoots Tim Shaw in the foot, and Ryan says, "You shot him in the foot," and Graham says, "Don't tell the doc, she'll be furious." And I just love that moment because it's a little funny moment from Graham. Like we have gotten in a lot of these episodes, Graham is usually the funniest character, but it was a really great moment of Graham protecting Ryan and Ryan protecting Graham as well. And then they also share this little bonding moment that later comes up, but isn't necessarily brought up by the fact that Graham shoot Tim Shaw. But as always, these are just my opinions, and I would love to know what you thought of this finale episode of Doctor Who in the comments down below. Any theories for what we may be seeing in another season of this? Who knows? Do you think Tim Shaw will come back? Do you think the Timeless Child thing will come back? Who knows? What about Krasko? I feel like he just got away too easily in the end of the Rose episode, so I kind of hope we get something a little bit more with him, but probably not. So anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really truly do appreciate every single one of you. Let me know if you're in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I love talking all things movies, TV shows, filmmaking, film history, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye!